Welcome back to HQ. I'm Katie Mox, and we're now going to talk Offensive Rookie of the Year. And for most of the season, it looked like Jayden Daniels was a lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Just 2 weeks ago, the Commanders quarterback was minus 1,000 to win the award, but things have shifted over the Commanders and their losing streak, making for an interesting case for some other candidates. After a slow start to the season, my guy here, Bo Nix, is closing in on Daniels. Since week 8, Nix has thrown for 12 touchdowns, ranking 3rd in passing yards and keeping his team in the playoff race. And how about a non-quarterback, right? Who is in the mix? Brock Bowers, perhaps the most impressive rookie of the season. Bowers leads all tight ends with 884 receiving yards and is 3rd overall in receiving yards at any position. Now, the Rookie of the Year award will be decided during this stretch of December. So now let's take a look at the current odds here. You got Jayden Daniels still as the favorite at minus 270, followed by Bo Nix at plus 230. You got Brock Bowers at plus 1,000 here. I think he's probably the most interesting one here. Then you got Bucky Irving and Caleb Williams. But we'll toss it back over to my girl Jacqueline with Leger and Pete to dig into this further.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katie. Yeah, we're going to dive in, starting at the top with the current betting favorite in Jayden Daniels. You saw it there, minus 270. We'll talk more about Bo Nix potentially closing the gap. But Pete, how impressed are you with what you've seen from Jayden Daniels, despite the recent slump that we've seen overall from the Commanders, starting to bounce back and look more into form? But just how impressed are you with Jayden Daniels as a whole up until this point?
Well, I think the slump was because of the injury. I mean, he had a rib injury, and he wasn't the same guy. He wasn't taking off and running like he was. He didn't throw the ball with the same accuracy or the same zip that he was before the injury. Now he's getting healthy again, and he's starting to look like Jayden Daniels. The guy's been phenomenal. I thought he was the best quarterback in the draft coming out, and I'm sticking to that. I think he's a great player. He gives them a different dimension that he can run the ball and get out of the pocket and create with his legs. I love what he does. He's only going to get better, and I think that little lull was more because of the injury than it was because of his skill set.
I think it was a combination of that, Pete, and them not having Brian Robinson, right? When you don't have your battering ram, your physicality on offense, it really slows down their run game, and the threat of Jayden Daniels, guys will key in on him more when you don't have to key in on Brian Robinson. We saw that last week. Brian Robinson comes back, they run for a ton that game. Jayden Daniels looks comfortable in the pocket. He got back to being who he was. He was confident in the pocket, decisive in the pocket, got the ball out of his hands extremely well, and I think that's going to happen going forward. And he'll get more rest time because they're going to a bye right now, and hopefully get Marshawn Lattimore back where he doesn't have to feel like he has to go out there and put up 35 every game to win games. That the Commanders' defense has played a lot better as of recently, so I see Jayden Daniels continuing to play well. The thing is, I was just looking at their schedule, Pete. They got some tricky games coming down. At New Orleans is not an easy win. Like the Rams just went in there and stole a win, but teams have struggled the last couple weeks in New Orleans since Rizzi has taken over as head coach. They play the Philadelphia Eagles. The Falcons are still fighting for a playoff position, and they lost to the Cowboys earlier. They got to go to Dallas as well. So they got some tricky games coming down the pipe.
Yes, we have Jayden Daniels. He's the current front runner, but Bo Nix has been emerging into the conversation over the last couple of weeks. Almost had 200 or 300 passing yards. There were some interceptions there.
Bad interception.
But what needs to happen down the stretch, Leger? Because, Pete, you had said, I think Jayden Daniels is only going to get better. So if that is the case, is there a situation where Bo Nix can surpass Jayden Daniels and actually win this award, in your opinion, Leger?
He would have to play like he was playing on that 8-game stretch before he did last week. We just talked about it, Pete, the interceptions, Jacqueline. You can't have those. And when you look at something that's really telling, Pete, in games where Bo Nix's team is either tied or down, that's when the interceptions happen. So that gives you a lot of pause, right? So if it's a tight-knit game, and you know this, coming down the stretch in December and January, most of those games are going to be tight-knit because you play divisional foes like the Chargers and the Chiefs. You play the Bengals as well, which we know can put up a lot of points.
Colts too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Which we know you're going to have to perform on offense. So I worry about Bo Nix potentially having some of those turnovers like he just had versus the Cleveland Browns. Like, everything's all fine and dandy when you have a 1 or 2 score lead. How do you play in tight situations? Because that's how teams make runs in the playoffs. Games in the NFL come down to 1 or 2 possessions, right? How is Bo Nix going to progress in that? That's what I want to see him. If he can do that, then he can tighten the reins on this Offensive Rookie of the Year, but it's going to be a telling task with these last 4 games that they have.
I think Sean Payton's done a wonderful job managing him and playing to his strengths. If you notice, everything. The first play of the game, and everybody knew it was coming, was a boot. They knew it was coming. They blasted him. He got nothing on it. And so, but that's what they do. They get him on the outside, on the perimeter, and let him create. And he's good looking, keeping his head up and making throws down the field. When he has to stand in the pocket, he's jumpy. And he leaves, and he gets out of there, and that's the problem for him right now. He made some bad throws the other day, got two interceptions, got away with a couple other ones, but there is a lot to like. The question with him is, where's the ceiling? You know, I don't think Jayden Daniels is even close to what his ceiling is going to be, and yet you have Bo Nix, who came out played a lot of football in college. Where's his ceiling going to be? I think Peyton deserves as much credit for doing it. He's a smart kid. He will get better, but I'm not so sure that his ceiling is ever going to be high like Jayden Daniels or even Caleb Williams will be.
Yeah, to your point, when things are predictable for the Denver Broncos, and we talked about this, how he uses the personnel, Sean Payton, Marvin Mims, a lot of screen plays, right? We're going to take some shots down the field. And we saw that Cleveland was able to try to mitigate or take that away. That's where he got jumpy and threw some interceptions. That's my concern, right? When you're trying to make a run in the playoffs, when they take away what everybody expects you to do, can you be above the playbook and go make a play? Yeah. That's where I want to see Bo Nix grow.
Maybe Jameis can ask the man upstairs for Bo Nix as well to save him from some pick sixes. I don't know. It's worth a shot, just asking. Let's get into some of the non-quarterbacks that are in this conversation, and we're talking about tight end Brock Bowers. And when I'm watching replays and highlights and the stats come across the screen on the bottom, I had to do a double take several times, being like, wait, that's the stat line for Brock Bowers? He's been phenomenal, putting up numbers that are starting to reel in some George Kittle comparisons.
No. He's
better,
at his peak. George Kittle at his peak.
No, I'm saying.
You think he's better at his peak than George Kittle?
I'm saying that he has a chance this year to have the greatest receiving year ever by a tight end. He's got 83 catches. If he can get like 6 or 7, and that's a lot, but he's been doing it in the next 5 games, he can get Zach Ertz at 116 as the greatest receiving year ever for catches by a tight end. But not only that, if he really goes off, he can get 1,400, which would take down Travis Kelce in his receiving yards. If he does both of those, he's the rookie of the year. He is the offensive rookie of the year. It's the greatest. Look, he's the best tight end in the league right now. And you can't say that about the quarterbacks.
But if I will ask you, Pete, based off of, say Jayden Daniels leads the team, and we were talking about this, Leger, to the playoffs, is he still going to, the rookie of the year, in your opinion? He might not get it, but.
This guy's catching passes from Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell.
Your favorite guy.
I mean, my God.
Your favorite quarterback.
Think about it. And think about this. He's putting up these numbers without a real quarterback. It's just so impressive. And I'll be honest with you, I liked him coming out, but I didn't see this. I didn't see this right away.
I don't think anybody did.
No, this is special.
Again, to your point, Jacqueline, I just believe when you're a franchise quarterback as a rookie and you lead your team to the playoffs, they're going to most likely give you the offensive rookie of the year. We saw that last year with Puka Nacua, who set the rookie receiving record, and we saw it with C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud ends up winning offensive rookie of the year because especially if you go to a place where you're the #2 pick or you're even top 5 or top 12, your team's probably not that good. So if you're able to lead that team to the playoffs, most likely you're going to get offensive rookie of the year. But I'm with Pete. There needs to be some real consideration for what Brock Bowers is doing. I mean, it's astronomical to be a tight end and be top 5 in receptions and receiving yards. He's #1 in the NFL in receptions from the tight end position. He's not a receiver. He's a tight end. And to your point, when you have Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell throwing you the ball, you don't have a clear-cut franchise guy. And teams now know that he's getting the ball, and he's still making plays. So he does need some consideration. I think for sure he should be on the first-team All-Pro. I don't even think that should be up for debate, but it's going to be hard-pressed to get him the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I think if he has that season that I'm talking about, he will win. He will win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Here's the other thing about him coming out. When he came out, everybody said, well, he's not a very good blocker. He's not a great blocker. Hey, NFL people, figure it out. The guy can catch. The guy can
it's like
catch.
Evan Ingram, right?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Every time a tight end comes out, they go, well, he might not be a good blocker. Put an extra tackle in there and let this guy go catch.
Michael Mayer, so he can block.
Go, let him go catch passes. That's what they do, and he's done it well, and he's doing it like nobody's ever done it.
Thanks.
And he might have the greatest tight end season of all time, and if he does, he's the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and congratulations if you got him in fantasy. He put up something crazy like 30
But he only has 4 touchdowns, though.
Yeah.
That's, again, that goes back to his quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Your favorite, well, it's no longer Gardner, but, that was your favorite for a time being there. Let's talk about another non-quarterback in Bucky Irving because he is having a late season surge for Tampa Bay. Obviously a bit of a long shot to jump Brock Bowers and what he's doing, and then even more so the quarterbacks, but still a really impressive stretch of games that we're seeing from him, Leger.
Yeah, without a doubt. He has been one of the godsends in regard to being a third-round pick and his complete game when you talk about not just running the football and his ability to make guys miss in open field, but catching the ball in the backfield. I mean, versus the Carolina Panthers, over 170 all-purpose yards. He was unstoppable in that game. You see the vision, the patience, and again, he doesn't go down on first contact. I remember when I did a mock draft, I had Berkey Irvin in the third round going to the Dallas Cowboys, and everybody scoffed at me. I said, no, this kid is
they
legit.
could use him right now.
You don't think they can use him right now? My goodness. I mean, people forgot that Rachaad White was coming off a really good year last year, and he's literally taking over the starting job from him, right? That's how impressive Berkey Irvin has been. And you see it in the fourth quarter. We talked about this. Running backs that get stronger as the game goes on. Only two other guys have been better than him, and both of those guys are in the MVP race.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. That lets you know how special Berkey Irvin has been this year.
Yeah, and when I was there in the summer, they were raving about him picking up blitzes too, which you don't hear a lot about from rookie running backs.
For sure.
He runs tough, he runs hard, and oh, by the way, what round did they pick him in? The third? That's where you find your running backs. That's where you find your running backs. And you draft them and you let them run for a couple years, then you find another one. That's the way you're supposed to do it. This guy runs tough, hard. He did get banged up last week.
He did.
He hurt his hip, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Had that heating pad on it during the game.
No.
He's tough.
Man, Pete, all the more reason for us to tune into Pushing the Pile to talk about your running back draft, because we know that's your favorite position.
Jim Brown first. Jim Brown.
Stick with us here on CBS Sports HQ. We have news, highlights, scores, all the biggest headlines coming your way. We are with you all season long right here on CBS Sports HQ, and it's all for free.